we've not had a card where, or a fight where we've got to stay up for a bit of time now since Haney and Loma. We've got one this weekend, Teofimo Lopez and Josh Taylor, and for, I believe it's the WBO Super Lightweight title. And I want to go to the challenger first before I talk the champion, because Teofimo, since his move up to 140, he's had 2 fights, won both fights, but has there been something that's been missing from you with this transition to 140 that you're looking at him like, there's something missing here, it's just not hitting as right as it should do?
This guy moved up and became a conspiracy theorist. First, he said that the zone conspired to get him to lose the belt because they wanted George Kambosos to have it, even though George Kambosos didn't sign with the zone. Then is his issue with Top Rank. Then do you know what's annoying me is like people keep on blaming, his dad. I said, can people? Tio is a head
He's a
case
grown man.
himself. Yeah,
he's a grown man. He can do his own thing.
He's a grown man. The guy is a head case in himself. It's different if it's like Tio's like some 19-year-old prospect that got the belt early and his dad's a bit of a madman, then fair enough. But it's like, yo, at this point, yeah, like you said, he's not a small boy, he's a grown man. And Tio Senior and Tio Junior are just as bad as each other. We gotta stop blaming the dad, because it's not like and I thought this was very disrespectful when people used to bring it up, because this guy was a multi-division champion. But when people used to speak about Angel Garcia and Danny Garcia, totally different. Angel just knew that Danny wasn't the best talker, but he was a great fighter, so he done the talking for him. There was a method to his madness, whereas Tio's father is just like, both of them are a bit outrageous. I think what they think they're doing in their mind is not how it's panning out in real life. And they just think the whole universe is against him. And since going up to 140, he hasn't looked the greatest. And then what's worse is that as time goes on, you start to hear more stuff unravel about his personal life and how, it's just not going well. And I don't want to speak too much about it, but yeah, it's very concerning to hear. And then he done the whole stupid thing when fights, dude, I want to catch a body in the ring. Shut up. Yeah, I think Josh Taylor just called him a tool, and that's the best thing to call him, because I don't know. With Tio, if he loses this fight, I think he just needs time away from the sport to get his personal life in check.
I was going to say, because a lot of what he's saying on the outside, when this is, sometimes you can speak on the outside, but it doesn't reflect on in the ring. You're still doing your thing in the ring, and you still look good regardless of whatever you say on the outside. But with Tio, it looks like whatever he's doing on the outside is actually affecting him inside the ring, and he's not looking like that guy, for example, that did what he did against Loma and looked like that man that came out, took it aggressively to Lomachenko. And it's funny because there was one fight as well when he's at 140 and he kind of just is in the corner. I know you've seen the clip. He's like, have I really got it yet?
Sandor Martin, in his last fight,
He's like, have I still got it yet? Like, is there a lot of doubt that's coming into Teofimo Lopez because he's not putting on fights or just performances for himself at this point where he's proud of it? Not necessarily the fans, because I think like there's two different, like boxers can be proud of their own performances, and fans can look at it to say, oh, you've been a bit boring. But it looks like you've actually got a boxer here who mentally is checking out a bit during his fights, and he's just not proud of the way he's performing.
I don't even know what to call it, because you can call it checking out, and then also the fact that I think he's second guessing himself in a sport like this. You cannot second guess. There's certain, not that you can afford to, but obviously it's like there's less painful sports where there could be a basketball game like the playoffs are on right now. Guess what? Obviously, I wouldn't advise it because it's a playoff series and every game counts, but you can maybe have an off game in one game and then be on the next game. It's not advisable, but it can happen. Boxing is like you can't afford to switch off. But the moment you switch off, your whole body gets switched off, literally. And with Tio, before we thought that the lead up to the Kambosos fight was just more of a one-off, but then it started to show a pattern. And even the Kambosos fight, I think he just went in there and he just overestimated himself. and George went in there and humbled him. Well, I can't even say he humbled him because he beat him, but he's still, if not more arrogant since, which is crazy. I think George was even talking about himself the other day, saying like, you're still can't accept that you lost. Like you did, like it is what it is. And if you the more you don't move on from that fight, the more it's gonna hold on to you, and you're gonna bring that energy somewhere else. And it's different. If it was like a tight robbery, then I understand, but it wasn't a robbery. Like you literally, how was he got dropped from the first round, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it set the tone. Obviously, he got him back, but by then it's like there was too much damage done. And, you know, Teo starts acting like the whole world, boxing world is against him. And the funny thing is, Top Rank invested in him. They gave him a new contract after that. He beat Loma. Because he even said himself he wasn't on the best money for the Loma fight when he won. Top Rank gave him more money. And then you haven't, you know, delivered on what you were supposed to be.
It's funny because I can't agree with him saying that people aren't pushing, because I still remember Max Kellerman talking about him on a show on ESPN saying, if there's a fighter that you guys need to watch out for, it's Teofimo Lopez. And to be honest, that's the first time then I heard of him. So I was like, yo, let me check him out. Let me invest into him. So he's had people talk about him. And I think now it might just be, I can't even say it's a marketing ploy, because it kind of can't be, because there's only so much marketing you can do before your marketing becomes
I think
realism.
he wants attention at this point.
Yeah.
No, not even attention. I don't know. He's just throwing stuff out there to see if it sticks. Is more desperation than anything.
But one guy, I want to move on to the champ himself. And it's an interesting take with the champion, because he had all the belts. Obviously had to disband them off because he couldn't defend them all. Hasn't fought for best part of a year and a half, you could say, possibly coming to. Last time was the Catteral fight itself, and we've got injuries, we've got ring rust potentially, we've got people just basically clamoring for him to make one particular fight in general. Josh Taylor, what are we going to see from him in this particular fight, and how do you think he is going to be considering that long layoff?
Do you know what? At first, I used to think like, I don't know what's going on with Josh, but the more I've heard him in interviews, I'm like, it was the best thing for him to take time off. If I remember correctly, he got married soon after the Jack Catteral fight. He did change camp as well. He also admitted, like, going down to 140 for him has been a struggle. And I think he's waiting for the, you know, the welterweight situation to clear up before moving up, which, to be fair, I understand. And so I think this might have been the best thing for Josh, just to have time off. He's been at a new camp, had more time now at this new camp, which I think is valuable for him. Get your head in the right space, get your body in the right space. And I feel like the Jack Catteral fight, it's a weird one. I won't call it a complete duck, but it did come across of a case of, I beat him and I'd rather not have to see him again. But it's not, it is a duck, but it's not a complete duck where it's like he shook of him. But I think Josh is just like, that was me on a bad night and I don't care, which some people might deny. And you know what? I hear both sides to it. For me, Jack won that fight and it was a case of he got robbed. Josh Taylor, to his own admittance, wasn't in the best shape. He didn't go in there in the best, you know, mind frame as such. He even said he spent the whole of camp, instead of trying to, like, you know, prepare for a fight, he's cutting weight instead. And I feel like he just knows, he acknowledged the same way people were telling Teo to acknowledge wiping the George Kambosos fight. I think Josh has also been truthful with himself, just saying, I wasn't right for that fight. Whether he won or lost, that's debatable, but he knows himself, I wasn't right for that fight. And I think this fight, he's coming across like he's back to what made him undisputed. And I think he needs this fight just to let people know and remind them why he was undisputed. So I think this will be more of a Josh Taylor showcase. And for Teo, it might just be the beating that he needs to take time off.
Okay, so breaking down for both fighters, then how or what approach should both fighters go into this particular fight to go ahead and get the win?
I think both of them just got to go in there and look to impose their will. This is less of a physical fight and more of a mental one. For Josh Taylor, it's going to be redemption of I need to go in there and remind people who I am because of that one fight with Catteral, you lot think that I'm not the guy that you saying I was. And then for Teo, is more like, can you get out of your own way to fight properly? Can you get out of your own way? Can you put the pieces together like you once did before? And also, he hasn't looked that impressive at 140. So is it going to be a case of he's too big for 135, but you're not big enough for 140? And it's crazy because it's only £5 difference, but you're seeing right now is making quite a significant, change on him. So I feel like with Teo, he's going to have to, depending on how this fight goes, not even depending on how this fight goes, he's going to have to assess a lot of things regardless. Even if he wins, I still feel like the wheels are going to fall off at any minute because of the way that he conducts himself and the way that his team conducts himself. And he's going to have a come to Jesus moment to sort himself out. I'm picking Josh Taylor, but I feel like this should be a Josh Taylor win. I'll be intrigued to see how Josh Taylor looks.
I was going to say, who actually needs to win this fight more? Because on one hand, you've got Josh Taylor, who, like you said, mentioned about the redemption side of things, but then it's also alluded to the fact that 140 is difficult, so that he's looking to 147. Whereas you've got Teofimo Lopez, who's basically can't go to 147, struggles at 140, but then he's just basically stuck if he loses this particular fight type of thing. So who actually needs to win this fight more?
Josh Taylor. Okay. Only because time is on Teo's side. Teo, if he loses this fight, can take time away from the sport, figure out his personal life issues, figure out does he still want this, and if he really does want it, then regroup, take your time, make the changes you need in your life, be truthful with yourself, and get it done. Josh Taylor, on the other hand, was just celebrating him being 140 undisputed not too long ago. He needs to go in there, remind people who he is. I think this is a good name to do that. And then after that, whether he goes to 147 or whether he has matches at 140 again, who knows? But for me, Josh Taylor, just because of age and what he's accomplished, he needs to be the one that needs to have the big show out. And yeah, maybe jump out to welterweight and face one of the other bigger names there. Errol Spence and Terence Crawford. I think both of them have a rematch clause as well. So if Josh Taylor wins, get the spotlight on you again. Remind people how great you are, and then go to 147 and have one or two matches with some top contenders just to get your feet wet, and so be ready for whoever has the belt out of Spence and Crawford once they've had their match.
So just quickly before we wrap up, I know you did kind of allude to it before, but officially, who do you have winning this fight?
Josh Taylor. His fight to lose.
His fight to lose.
What about yourself?
So look, I'll still say this. I feel like I was one of the few that picked him to beat Loma.
Yeah.
I'll say this in a nice. He's a very weird human personally, I think.
Yeah.
I think he's got some very, very weird things going on. But if he can be right, he can sort himself out. I still trust Teofimo Lopez.
Fair.
I still trust him, and I'm okay with Josh winning because I like Josh. I love what, like I said, we talked about when he fought Ramirez, the fact that he had hardly any coverage, and he had a really, because I remember then I think he came on TalkSport and he was like, "Look, you guys are talking to me now, but nobody covered me going into this." I understood why he was frustrated about that, but there's not been any activity. Obviously, like you said, he's taken a step back, and then fights haven't been made that they've been in motion to be made.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take the underdog, and I'm gonna bet my boy Teofimo Lopez to get the job done. But then then once he gets the job done, he needs to do that break, like you said. Like, you don't need to overly do it. You do a few interviews, you take a bit of time out and reassess everything and be like, yo, cool, now we do what we need to do. But I'm okay with Josh winning. Like, I'm fine with Josh winning, but I just have this weird feeling that it might happen where he checks himself again and be like, let me get into that Loma phase and get the win.
I don't that guy. I don't know if he's still there, but listen, I hope so because it'll be the best for him. But sometimes in life, a loss is the best thing that can happen to you. So let's
No, I
see.
hear it. I hear it.
Let's see how he does.
I'll
And
say this. I'll say this. With Haley looking like he'll move up, Taylor having, Teofimo
oh,
Lopez having a belt. There's no crying.
oh
There's
yeah,
no
yeah, yeah.
complaining. You
That'll
can
be
make that fight a lot more easier because everyone talked about the fact that I know Lopez probably did say spill something out on Haney as well. Said I
yeah,
could probably beat you at 135, etc. So you have that fight there and ready for you to be made as well. So the talking stops there as well. That's one thing I'd probably say I'd look forward to at 140 more than everything else. But I think that works if Lopez has a belt.
yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. No. Lopez needs a belt for that fight to get traction. Lopez needs a belt. So yeah, we shall see.
We shall see. But with that, we're going to wrap up today's episode of the Stay Waiting podcast. As always, if you enjoyed the content, drop a like, share, subscribe. Let us know your predictions below as well. Who needs to win the fight and who wins the fight. And very appreciate for jumping on. And as always, guys,
Love as
stay
always.
waiting.